Hey guys, what's up? My name is Rob Dim, making this quick video about how to make some money in the USA. And it particularly goes that many of the residents here are predominantly a majority, and you have to work amidst yourself to make sure that you make some money. And the entire competition here is such that you realize the sort of ideation that you have to co-align with and coexist with is America's interest.
Satellite imagery shows what looks to be
So that basically means everything and anything that you want to do has to be in line with America's interests. And by that, I mean everything. So if you're driving down the road and you're looking to make some interesting connections with how your car is running, it has to be in America's interest. And America's interest has to agree with whatever other entities that are presenting themselves in the Americas. Having your own perspective, such as being an Indian minority or a Bangladeshi minority Muslim, and having this intricacy to American education and the cultural background that you come from at home and the other small semantics and rhetoric that your parents speak to you in and tell you about their lives and how to live your life here in America according to their experience and successful acquisition of money is all correlated to what you can actually do. But it isn't really aligned with America's interest, because if you're from Bangladesh or Pakistan, or you wouldn't relatively be an ally unless you're Pakistani and Indian. So this whole conundrum of the Asian checkbox being Arab, Chinese, and Indian is sort of this huge predicament where you are able to achieve your goals so long as you understand that America's policies and interests come first. Now, I'm not saying that America doesn't let every single Indian or Bangladeshi achieve their goals, but there are some radical or some outliers or some really strange, eccentric people who try to achieve their goals by their many instances of technology and relations to other humans who live in the USA and try to make their own money. And it comes off as rejection because it is more dominant than the American interest. Now, America's interest is really big here now that we have this whole global policy throughout the world for the best education technology. Quite frankly, if you look at modern technology, a lot of times it goes upwards and downwards, and sometimes it flops upside down. This is because of the many iterations and technological issuances of a small social system or a technological rhetoric that you might entirely take under your own whim with your purchase. America's interest is predominantly so huge that you literally can't do anything about it. And that's the whole agenda. So even if you do have this unique identifying situation where you're this minority who understands the all sides of the facade of a building. For example, the building in this case is population demographic understanding. So you understand the many groups of people who live in the USA by their race, because it is what you're trying to do to make some money. The USA's interest will predominantly come across as, hey, if this group of people doesn't entirely have a lot of people following the same lead as this one kid, then we're not going to allow it, and it could be just him. So we're not going to do that because majority vote. And that's where I think voting is discrimination. And the competition here is that, hey, we can do it completely better and refine it to make it so much better that we'll actually make some sales. And the people with money who are educated will actually buy it. In this case, the majority of white people will take something Indian or Chinese, in this case, because they prefer Indian Chinese for the lack of hostility and more docile nature, and create a product that is white owned and white sold to white Americans. And now it becomes a white ownership of whoever bought it, and they agree with it, and there's plenty of chuckles around. So I predominantly wrote some publications about many of the things in the USA. I only have two. I plan to write some more. But it is my strong opinion, so I think it's worth something, even though it might be short and concise and you might not understand it. The entire goal of this video is to tell you about America's interests, being that even if you are a minority with some strong goals and strong understandings to make some money, and you actually did make a couple bucks, and from that couple bucks you're trying to expand it even to something more, is that America's interest is predominantly not going to let you achieve it because it doesn't fall under the majority vote. The majority vote usually doesn't do something unless someone white has come to leadership to it and has decided that it is good for the white community, for the white community to give money to. It's either that or you're gonna end up taking their wives, and you're gonna end up marrying and undoing the work that predominantly is white America's interests, and that's not going to be beneficial to society or America in the future because of the amount of presidents the USA has. Oftentimes, some companies and some nations who exalt and exemplify complete over understanding of policies and standards, such as car companies, have outshone the American competition and American car makers by creating more quality products, and that outlasts the average American product. And it's because of their strong understanding of the policy that they're able to continuously create some strong products. But if you look at what American products here is, they intentionally cause some damage to you, and that's America's interest to feed the economy some more. Now, this could be correlated with some other global politics, like America's interests by having military bases or having their military base attack a nuclear threat that could be understood as everyone should have a nuclear threat just in case, because there are enemies everywhere. But there are only a few certain nations that can have these nukes, either because they have too many of them and the war would cause collapse, or it's because there's some good people behind the ownership of the nuke. So what I'm basically saying, if you're Bangladeshi and you understand that these nations can have nukes and these nations can't have nukes, that would be a problem, because you being a minority would influence other dumb people, I suppose, who aren't educated, and they would come across as being so entirely useless to the whole America's interest that it would cause economic collapse. So if you've seen an economic collapse, this is a good thing. You expect the USA to rebuttal and find out a new ground so that it would work somehow, but instead you have one person rebuttaling and creating new ground so that the nation who has found this information to make some money to be worthwhile ends up being outvoted and denied by the common public and majority because it's simply not white. And there's many other things that I could talk about here, but I'm keeping this video short, and it's already been 10 minutes. If you do want to be enlightened by a perspective that you can achieve throughout the public, check out my publication and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next one.